Welcome to Alternative Egypt, the channel that gives a voice to the myths and legends of our ancient ancestors. We appreciate you leaving a comment on our videos, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more alternative views on our ancient past.
In 1994, a book appeared that would ignite one of the most heated debates in modern Egyptology. Written by researcher and international best-selling author Robert Bauval, the Orion mystery proposed a startling idea, that the three Great Pyramids of Giza had been deliberately positioned on the ground to mirror the three stars of Orion's belt in the heavens above. It was a bold claim, and like many ideas that challenge established thinking, it was met with fierce resistance from the academic establishment. Yet despite decades of criticism and scrutiny, Bauval's Orion correlation theory remains one of the most widely discussed and enduring alternative interpretations of the Giza Plateau. Central to Bauval's argument was the suggestion that the relative sizes of the three pyramids may have been influenced by the relative brightness of the three belt stars. According to this interpretation, the Great Pyramid corresponded to Al-Natak, which Bauval believed to be the brightest star in Orion's belt. But there was a problem. Subsequent astronomical analysis revealed that Al-Natak is not the brightest of the belt stars. That distinction belongs to Al-Nilam, the central star of Orion's belt, represented in the correlation by the middle pyramid. If stellar brightness was intended to determine pyramid size, then the relationship appeared to break down. Yet this raises an intriguing question. If the relative dimensions of the Giza pyramids were not derived from the brightness of Orion's belt stars, then what was the guiding principle behind their design? Was another, more subtle system at work? Could the answer lie not in the luminosity of the stars, but in the geometry of their arrangement? In this video, we will explore a remarkably simple possibility. Using the pattern of Orion's belt and a straightforward sequence of geometric relationships, it will be shown how the relative base dimensions of all three Giza pyramids can be generated with surprising ease. The implications, if correct, suggest a level of planning and mathematical intent that has largely gone unnoticed and strongly suggests that Bauval was right. The pyramids were laid out to mirror Orion's belt. The first step is to lay out an accurate representation of Orion's belt. With this in place, we then draw a straight line from the center of the star Al-Natak to the center of Al-Nilam, the middle belt star. We will label this first line L1A. Next, we simply double the length of L1A, creating line L1B. We will call this full-length line L1. Notice how the end of line L1 arrives very close to the third belt star, Mintaka. From the endpoint of L1, we simply draw our next line to the center of Mintaka, creating line L2A. We now simply duplicate L2A to create line L2. This will form the diagonal of base 3, which we now simply square. Our first base, base 3, is now complete. Our next step is to simply duplicate base 3, creating base 3A, which we then place alongside the original base 3. Next, we duplicate line L1 to create line L3, which is then placed through the diagonal of base 3A. A line is then drawn from the midpoint of L3 to the center of Al-Nilam, the middle belt star, which we will label L4A. We then duplicate L4A to create line L4, which then forms the diagonal of our second base. We then square this diagonal to create base 2. Continuing from the endpoint of L3, we draw a line to the center of the star Al-Natak, creating line L5A. We duplicate or double line L5A to create line L5, which, just like the other two diagonals, we then square. We now have our three bases generated from the Orion's belt stars. But how does the relative base dimensions of these three bases compare with the relative dimensions of the actual Giza pyramids? To determine this, we need a scaled ground plan drawing of the Giza monuments. Here we observe that the base dimensions, our bases B1 and B3, correspond to a very high degree with base dimensions of pyramids G1 and G3. However, it is not so easy to check base B2 against pyramid G2 because it appears the builders moved pyramid G2 from its planned Al-Nilam center location. But if we simply reposition B2 base from its Al-Nilam center to the actual G2 pyramid center, we can then compare the dimensions against each other. With the B3 base centered on G2 pyramid, we then find that their dimensions also correspond with each other to a very high degree. Since using this technique with any other three stars would produce a radically different result, this is very strong evidence that the Giza pyramids were indeed laid out and designed with Orion's belt as the underlying design template. Robert Bauval was right.
This video presentation is based on the research of independent author and researcher Scott Crichton. His books are available on Amazon.com and from all good bookstores.